Well, I'm a noob playing poker for the noobs. Gotta bring a growth mind to positive attitude. I'm here for beginners every single weekday. Let's review the rules of poker by repeating what I say. Clockwise round the table is the direction of the play. The dealer button 2 to the left, they've gotta pay. Everyone else, they should raise more chips or fold. Once somebody does, you can call to match the bet they told. 3 cards come on the table with 2 left to come in. You gotta match your cards to make the best 5-card hand to win. If no one bets and you check, you don't pay, but you don't earn. Type exclamation point beginner in the chat to learn. 2 more cards, 2 more rounds of betting. If you see your chance, take it. At the end, just show your hand or fake it till you make it. I'm a noob playing poker for the noobs. Gotta bring a growth mind to positive attitude. I'm here for beginners every single weekday. Ask me questions if you want to learn some more now as I play. Welcome to Friday Poker Book Club Day. This month, I've been reading The Setup by Dan Bilzerian. For those of you who are unaware, Dan Bilzerian claims to have made his fortune playing poker. And so I read his book in the hopes that I would get some poker content. I wasn't really disappointed. Of course, there wasn't any learning content, but I wasn't expecting that. I obviously wasn't the target audience for this book, so there's that. I'll talk a little bit about the book and a little bit about Dan Bilzerian in case those of you who don't want to read the book can learn a little bit. But why don't I pop open a game and get warmed up playing poker so that I can do some grinding later today. And as always, this stream is sponsored by nerdtease.ca. Nerdtease.ca. Tea is the GTO poker drink. And if you go to nerdtease.ca and use the code QUEEN at checkout, you can get 15% off. So go check it out, literally. All right, let's pop on some jazz and some poker and talk a little bit about the book I just read, because honestly, I did have fun reading it. He's not a terrible writer. That's not to say that the book is extremely good. It was clear that it was self-published. Not in the normal way that books that are self-published are clear they're self-published. Like most self-published books, there's tons of typos and stuff like that, but there was none of that here because obviously he could hire good editors. So it was well proofread, well edited, but the organization was definitely lacking, which is a common thread in self-published books. I could also tell that he wanted to weave throughout this idea of the setup, but it felt like it was definitely something he thought of after he wrote the book and then tried to sprinkle it throughout artificially. I guess maybe I'm a little picky because I'm an author myself, and so I recognize when somebody is reaching for word count or attempting search engine optimization or doing this, which is trying to weave a thread throughout artificially after the fact. So yeah, there was that. But it was well written in that he's definitely a decent writer. He has some funny writing that he does, and I would love to see him write another book on a better topic than himself. I would love him to write a Chicken Soup for the Degenerate Soul style book, because he does have a lot of great stories, and that's why people like him. He has zany stories to tell around the poker table, and who doesn't like a character like that at their table? So I'm going to play some poker today and tell you the story of the Dan Bilzerian book so that you don't have to read it if you don't want to. So here we're playing a cash game, and I'm about to get into the blinds. These are the 5 community cards that come out on the board. People are matching their hidden hole cards to the community cards to make the best 5-card hand to win. In this case, this person had an ace high, which sometimes will win. Sometimes a king high will win. Anything less than that, you're going to have to probably bluff your face off. If you are new to poker and you need the hand rankings, in the About tab below my stream, you're going to see a little graphic with the hand rankings, or you can type exclamation point hand rankings in the chat if you need accessibility features. So we have somebody who's raising here. Why didn't my mouse highlighter work? There it is. I'm like, hello, mouse highlighter. Oh, it's being janky today, isn't it? Okay, I see how it is. Roro, what? Do you want your toy? You can pick it up. My rescue dog has dropped his toy by the cat, and he's extremely concerned that if he gets his toy, he will die. Let me get your toy for you, bud. Hold on. Here's your toy. Here's your toy. Big mean kitty didn't take your toy away. He's afraid of the cats, which is good. So he doesn't harass them. But at the same time, he's so terrified of the cats that they can easily block him from his toys or food or what all else have you. Okay, so here I am in the small blind. And we're gonna raise. And my mouse highlighter is gonna be super janky today, so I'm just gonna close it because it's not gonna cooperate. This is what we call a dynamic flop. We do have thin, weak value, so I'm gonna bet small, a tiny bit. It's tiny. And we wait for our friendo. This person's a fish. Fish alert. They've got a shorter stack. Same with this. Looking good, looking good. Anyway, okay, so let me tell you about the Dan Bilzerian book. Let me tell the story of his life. So, starts out when he's a kid and his dad goes to jail. His dad was like this corporate takeover artist who resorted to like skeezy business practices and ended up in prison over it. And of course, in the book, it's like, oh, he was totally innocent. He just like was trying to make a point about something. And so he took a bad deal and ended up in prison. Okay, whatevs. And word on the street is, I don't know if this is true at all. I mean, this is what I heard of Dan Bilzerian before I read the book. People thought that his millions isn't from poker. They thought it was from like hidden offshore accounts that his dad made before he went to prison with a bunch of the money that he made off with. I mean, who knows? Who knows, right? Yeah, he has a trust fund. But who knows where he got all his money from? Nobody can really know except for maybe his tax guys. In the book, he does claim that he made a ton of his money with poker and then later with cryptocurrency. I mean, maybe checks out. That's kind of what's going on nowadays. Anyway, so it starts out with him as a kid. His dad goes to prison. He gets made fun of a lot, but you know, he's being raised in a cushy lifestyle. His family was rich. He's, you know, living the good life. He talks about how his mom was like a pretty awesome person. He didn't seem to like blame his mom for any mommy issues. He said that she seemed to be like a really nice person and she didn't like flaunt riches or anything like that. Ooh, this person calling an all-in 6-7. This is just like called all in on flop for with gut shot. That was some wild, folks. Okay. We're gonna do this. It was like 50 big blinds. Oops, not 500. 50 big blinds. Deep. There we go. Okay, so anyway, he's made fun of in school. Whatever. He brags a lot in the book, mostly about trying to be tough. Like, it seems like his main value in life is toughness, because if he's tough, then it would mean he's like deserving of all this wealth and good luck and happiness that he really enjoys. Not sure why he landed on toughness as like his essential feature, but he's really sensitive about that. Like, so sensitive, in fact, that when some blogger like implied that he wasn't tough, he like quit a bunch of stuff that he was doing just because some blogger said that he wasn't tough. And I'm just like amazed by that. Like he changed his whole course of what he was doing in life just because some random blogger said he wasn't tough. So toughness, very important for him. He did not complete college. He also kind of tried to imply that he was tough for like walking out, like, go to hell, everybody. Like, I'm done with this stuff. Like that's some kind of tough thing. He also failed the military. He went through Navy SEAL training like twice, which again, he says is really tough. Nobody else went through SEAL training twice, but that's because, people who went through it completely usually pass. So anyway, he went through Navy SEAL training twice, ended up failing both times. He talks pretty fondly of his time in the military, but he was kind of living like an entitled kid and ended up getting essentially kicked out of the military because so he applied to live off base, because rich guy, is he going to live on base? I don't know. So he applied to live off base. He got granted the ability to live off base. But then when he was in this really extreme training, there was rules that you couldn't leave the base. And he did, and so he got in trouble for that and ended up fighting it and like going through all this stuff. And ended up leaving the military at some point, and then kind of launched into his life of debauchery that we see today. So when he entered his life of debauchery, it was, of course, super drug fueled. Like he's very open about using steroids, which, I mean, I think that's kind of a given for folks who bodybuild to his extremes. If you're wondering what's special about him, by the way, it's just that he's hot. Like, that's it. That he's hot, and then he comes from money and continues to do that. Hey! Yes! Thanks, Rob! Thanks for the resub! Okay. So anyway, he was very, very open about taking steroids, and this is where I kind of got a glimpse into who is the target audience of his book, because he even mentions, like, don't take steroids before you're fully grown. So I think this book's target audience is actually, like, teenage boys. Like, older high school, younger college boys. So I'm not the target audience, so if I sound really negative about his book, I'm not trying to be. I actually really enjoyed the read, and I hope he writes another book about a more interesting subject. Anyway, so he starts his life of debauchery and immediately gets like 2 heart attacks at like age 27 or something. And it was because he was just like doing cocaine and steroids and like tons of Viagra, like, because, his tough guy thing is really important. So he has to be able to keep it up. So he's just taking tons of Cialis, even to this day, he says, just to keep going with his lifestyle. So anyway, then it gets into the poker bit, and he talks about how he basically cultivated, this is how he depicts it. Remember, this is all a depiction. Who knows whether it's real or not, right? So he never claims to be like a really amazing poker player. Instead, he says he basically played like an absolute donkey and was really fun. And that way he got invited to private games and heads-up matches with super rich people who are worse than him, okay? So he tells all these crazy stories about these, like, rich people that he ended up in these heads-up matches with and just going up and down, millions of dollars and stuff. And in this rich people world, it's, like, so bizarre because, like, they give each other money for things, just like if you were to loan your friend $10 or something, he's like, hey, somebody's like, come to my party. And he's like, oh, well, if you give me $60,000 for jet fuel, I'll come. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'll kick you $60,000. Anyway, pretty weird. So anyway, he's playing all these matches against super rich people, and they're all like really drugged out too, right? Like he talks about this guy that he went heads up with like all the time to earn all this millions of dollars, who just had like cocaine like all over his face. And at one time they were at a party with like Paris Hilton, and the guy couldn't get his cocaine container open, and so he like threw it on a table and like pulled out a gun, and he was going to shoot the cocaine container in this like room full of like Paris Hilton and like other billionaire heiresses, I assume. And and so Dan Bilzerian's the hero of the day and says, "Don't shoot the cocaine container. It's a bad idea, bro." So I guess that's like his moment of behaving. Oh, it was wild. So like, yeah, so he keeps playing these matches. He's flying all over the place. And then he gets kind of like sidetracked. He gets sidetracked with his business, which is selling weed. He sells this brand called Ignite. It's really big in Canada here, actually. And so then he's like, well, my lifestyle where I'm with all these women and stuff, that's going to sell my brand of drugs. So then he gets sidetracked into that and into hosting parties, which he says is like really awesome. And then like the rest of the book is just basically him bragging about all the parties that he's throwing and all the women that he has around, and kind of talking about the setup, which is what he calls basically the book is kind of awkwardly like a guide to be the debaucherous person like him. And it's kind of awkward when a book is like this, because it's like he doesn't have an authoritative voice. I mean, step one, be rich, you know. I don't know about that. I don't think anybody's going to get fooled into buying the book as like a life guide. I think that was a bad direction to go with the book. I think the chicken soup for the degenerate soul kind of theme would have been much better, and I hope that he writes another book, and that would be really cool. Anyway, I mean, yes, there's a lot of misogyny in the book for sure. And, but one thing that he kind of accidentally got right that I kind of like for this guidebook for, you know, high school guys and young college kids and stuff, one thing that he got right is he talks about, like, if a girl stops showing interest or implies that she's turning you down, just immediately bounce, you know, just be like, okay, bye, thanks, you know. And of course, he frames it as like, that way you take the power back, man. But I'm like, you know what? I'm glad guys are hearing this message because, you know, the alternative to be like too pushy and like creepy is bad. And so even though it's coming from Dan and it's coming from him for the wrong reasons, I do like that he's promoting the message of like, leave chicks alone who aren't super into you. It's a good message. He also claims that like none of those models are paid for sex. Their tickets out there are usually paid for. They fly out. He flies them out. And of course they get all kinds of free food and lodging and stuff. But he says that they're all like super into him, and that's what it is. And his whole thing of the setup is that you fly. Yeah, you take the power back, man. If she's not into you, you just bounce. And he told several stories where this like worked for him, in that like he turned, like some chick was like not into him, and so he was like whatever, and then he leaves, and then later on she like bursts into his bedroom and is like, make love to me, you know, like. So he tells a lot of stories like that. So I guess I'm glad that he's spreading the word. That's a really good message for young men and boys to get from this book, I guess. I think that it's not like a harmful book, except for that, I mean, obviously it normalizes a lot of drug use. So that's bad. But what is good about the book is that, like, his whole thing is just invite tons of women over and then they're going to fight over you. But, you know, what he fails to point out is that, like, the whole draw is that he's, like, taken enough roids and stuff and worked out enough on his body that he looks like Zeus. You know, so like of course chicks are gonna bang him. Like that's the whole thing. Like he's rich and hot, and you know, there's a lot of why not chicks, especially in that age group. Especially in that age group. I mean, I'm not going to say 21-year-old me wouldn't have been susceptible to that idea. But yeah, that's the whole setup. The setup is invite tons of super hot chicks over and question mark be hot and rich, and then they'll throw themselves at you, and if they don't, you ignore them. So now you know the trick. That's the Dan Bilzerian trick to getting chicks. No pickup lines. He talks about like he never does pickup lines. They always come to him. And so there was even like he had some kind of career in acting. That was another like weird part of the book where he was just like, I'm going to do acting now. And then he was just terrible at it. And like, and so that didn't work out. He had a bunch of like random stuff he did. Another thing that he did was apparently in Arizona, some town in Arizona, they have this program where you can become a cop really easily in their program. You don't hate anyone, but you really don't like that man. The book will leave you with the very strong feeling that he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Like, I didn't know what to expect when I was reading it. I didn't know much about him. All I knew was that, you know, he had a bunch of ladies, and that he was selling weed, and yay. But I didn't know much else, you know. Anyway, he paid a production studio a lot of money to be in that American Sniper movie, and then sued because he didn't get enough screen time. He didn't include that part that he sued. He mentioned suing like several times, though. I get the feeling that he's really sue happy. And that was kind of like, ew, like, why do you got to be sue happy when you're that rich? But I guess that's kind of the way things get done, and that's the way he was taught. You know, his dad was corporate takeover artist. Like, this is the language of his people, is suing. So yeah. So yeah, he had this short-lived, really crappy acting career. He talks about like how bad he was at it, and like just, you know, awful. And then like his weird cop thing. So like this town in Arizona allows you to be a cop really easily. And so he goes there, and he was like, I want to be a cop. And they're like, okay, officer. And Fred Republican went through this phase where he worshipped Dan. That's so funny. Ton of research to explain how much he sucks. Well, your friend would love this book. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So yeah, he becomes a cop. And then he uses this mostly to like show his officer badge to like do weird stuff. Like at one point he at one point there was like a natural disaster, like a hurricane, and he was just like, I'm gonna go help out. And he like shows up, and they're like, you know, you can deliver clothes and food to these places. And he's like, that's boring. And so he's like, here's my cop badge. And then next thing you know, he's driving this like vehicle around helping cops rescue people from the water and stuff. But then that's what really is crazy, is he's helping out, which, you know, I don't think makes him an amazing person. I used to be with somebody who was kind of like that. He would help out, and he would help people and hurt people. So anyway, so he's helping out, but then this blogger said that he wasn't tough online, and he was like, oh, screw this, and he went back to his mansion with his girls, you know, like, this is so crazy. Yes, the Vegas shooting was another one. Yes, that was a separate thing. So like the Vegas shooting bit was he was in Thank you, Anchor Motzi. Thank you. So the Vegas shooting thing was, he went to the Jason Aldean concert with his friends, the country artists, which apparently I think Jason Aldean was like a friend from school when he was a kid and reached out to him and was like, hey, come to my concert. That's crazy that you're like that guy now. And Dan was like, sure. So he shows up at this concert, and then of course all this shooting goes down. So he's immediately like, where's a gun? I need a gun. I need a gun. And then he like goes to a cop car, and yes, he goes to a cop car and he's like tries to unlock the shotgun in the cop car. The cop car is unoccupied. He grabs these keys and he's trying to unlock the shotgun. It's not there. He can't get it. And then later he goes back and the keys are gone. So yay, he just let somebody steal the cop car keys. But anyway, so he's looking for a gun, and then finally he runs away, and like he calls his police chief guy back in Arizona, and he's like, I'm gonna get a gun and shoot it up. And the police chief's like, no, you're gonna get shot by the cops if you're running around in there with a gun. Like, think about it. And he was like, oh yeah, I guess it was probably pretty good that I couldn't unlock the shotgun. But that's what the blogger was writing about, that he was a wimp about. And he got really upset because, of course, toughness is like the main thing for Dan Bilzerian. He's very open in the book. I mean, it's way more of a theme throughout the book than the setup. I think the book is more about the perils of performative toughness. I don't know. I can kind of identify with it because when I was younger, like my dad was a tough guy. He was a really tough guy. He had a ton of friends who would walk over hot coals for him because they were just like, man, that dude is the baddest ass dude ever. And I was kind of wanting to be like that. I wanted people to be impressed and intimidated by me and my toughness. And so it's kind of funny coming from a girl, but it happens to women too. So I was really into performative toughness, you know, like all the things, the bungee jumping and the you know, never backing down from a fight kind of thing. And I think I'm gonna check this. And so I was really into that. Now that I'm like older and I'm a cancer survivor, I know I don't need to prove my toughness to anyone. Like, I'm 1,000 times tougher than Dan Bilzerian and most people that I know, and I no longer feel this need that everybody has to know it. I have to prove it to someone or something. Like, it's no longer a thing that I need. If somebody doesn't believe that I'm tough, like, whatever, I'm tough enough that I don't care. But he is not, and it's really interesting. It's interesting because he I feel like I'm trying to figure out like why he needs the toughness, and I think it's because then the toughness would prove that he's like authentic and independent, even though obviously couldn't be further from the truth, right? He's not independent. He's highly pampered. He's not authentic. He's a big Instagram character. But oh my gosh, coming down with threes. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, it was just really interesting. I identify with his need for toughness, but it's so extreme, and it kind of informs everything that he does. Everything that he does is in service of this toughness thing. He brags several times about like jumping out of a helicopter into the water while people watch. I'm not sure why that's a big thing that's worth writing about, but apparently it's happened like 2 or 3 times, and he wrote about every time in the book. I'm like, okay, cool story. And he does write about some of the girls that he dated for extended periods of time, which was kind of interesting, you know, because I wondered about that when I saw his lifestyle. I'm just like, is that the same chick? Like, I don't know if any of these are the same. And what he explains in his book is that basically he's like, I'm not a hit it and quit it kind of guy. He basically has this like Rolodex of chicks that he goes through repeatedly. So he, uses the same ones over and over again. And yeah, so there were some chicks that he actually dated for an extended period of time. There was even one that he was like apparently monogamous with for a relatively short period of time, but of course that didn't work. Being phony and promotes all the things you hate about how masculinity is presented in our society. Yeah, that's exactly the good point. I think that he equates toughness with masculinity, and it's that performative toughness, that like false toughness, the toughness of, oh, I was in the military and the guy made me do push-ups in the rain and so I'm tough, like, okay. Like sometimes that's not toughness, Toughness is being strong for your kids when you're homeless. Toughness is, walking into that radiation clinic for the 36th prime. Toughness is different. and men, there are plenty of tough men out there just getting at it every day. And he's not getting at it every day. He's doing performative toughness. Like he puts toughness on his calendar, like the 26th of August, be tough. Make a big show of toughness. Do the tough stuff. It's pretty crazy. I don't know. I was just kind of, you finish the book. I think a lot of people finish the book slightly pitying him. Even though, I think he's generally happy with life, so I shouldn't pity him. He looks generally happy. Whenever you see him, his smile looks really genuine, like he has a really beautiful smile. It looks really genuine. I think that he experiences a lot of pleasure, in life. And so that's great. I'm glad he's happy with that. But I think I kind of, I pity the idea that he's hasn't had a chance to prove to himself his toughness to an extent that he no longer has to make others believe it. Even just like random blogger just threw off his whole life. It's just interesting to me. I'm like, because I remember when my life was kind of about like, I want everybody to know that I'm like tough. And I think I developed that from elementary school because I was the smallest kid in my class. And so I learned that in order to not be picked on, I had to be the crazy one. I had to be the kid that would come at you and freak out. I was like the short chick who would just like run at you like a wild animal if you tried to like hit her, So like that was my coping mechanism. And I think something inside of him is that, really wants that protection from something. But it was a really interesting book, like I said. Really good read. I enjoyed reading it. Although there was a lot of just kind of like repetitiveness and the organization wasn't really there. There wasn't a beginning, a middle, and an end. The setup piece was like awkward and poorly written. But the stories were great. I think that one of my favorite lines was like when he went to go party with Miley Cyrus, and he said that there was a garbage bag of weed on the table because Miley had instructed her staff never to have less than like a pound of weed on them at any point of time. And something about that just cracks me up. And so yeah, if you want like a random celebrity gossip, this book is full of it. That's why I think A Chicken Soup for the Degenerate Soul would be like a way bigger seller, because you don't just have to try and sell it to like incel teenage boys. You could sell it to just anybody who's into celebrity gossip, which is a much bigger market, much, much bigger market. I think I gotta call this one. I don't like. He all in. That was a silly call with seeing that he was so short. He's like, I got my missed ace. Good job, bro. He's got runner, runner, drawing dead. Womp, 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 womp. Fell into the trap. Yeah. I was unaware of this Miley phase. I was entirely unaware. So that was really interesting. A lot of celebrities. He includes, of course, pictures of all the celebrities and stuff. But I was mostly interested in just like the cool poker stories. And there was some like cool poker stories with celebrities too. That was really awesome. And how his book could have been better. Well, I'm an author, you know, fun fact, IRL, I'm an author. So I'm always thinking of that, you know, where I'm like, could we make this book be better? Don't have the flush, bro, I guess. Doot 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 shoobity doot. Yeah, so whenever I read a book and I'm kind of like cringing, and this book was really cringy, like not the expected cringe. Like there's a lot of sex scenes and stuff like that, but I was expecting that, so I didn't really cringe at it. I was just like, okay, good job, bro. But the things that I was cringing at were just like, and I've seen this before in like similar books from people when they want to take this authoritative voice, like, I've set up my life and this is how you can do the same. It was super cringy because it's like, no, bro, no. You have no interest in crystal ball reading? Oh, then don't order that one. Order Getting Through It. That's one of my non-woo-woo books. Well, less woo-woo. I also have Clearing Clutter. My least woo-woo books are Clearing Clutter and Getting Through It. So, yeah, those are the two books that you can try out if you're not into woo-woo stuff. But, yeah, so since I am an author, I recognize when authors are struggling. One thing that I think he did well is he actually wrote a lot of words. I was expecting to get like a pamphlet. That's what most famous people who write a book do. Like Phil Hellmuth, when he wrote his #positivity book, that thing is basically a pamphlet, you know? It's kind of a ripoff to buy. And so I was expecting that. I was expecting a pamphlet, but he actually wrote a goodly number of words. So that was good. And I could tell that he had hired a really good editor and proofreader to make sure there wasn't any like really gross, egregious writing faux pas, you know? But I think the whole framing of it as an advice manual was super cringy, did not work, and the stories were the best part. Geez, these two people are just like, let's go ace queen, and then they got the ace and the queen on the board. All right, cats, you're gonna split it. You gonna split it. But yeah, I think everybody should write books. Everybody should. I think that it was great that he wrote a book. I think he should write another one. Phil's book wasn't any good. I'm not going to say it wasn't any good. I enjoyed it too. You can tell I'm a reader. I enjoy most books, even terrible ones. I enjoyed Dan's book, you know, and Phil's book I also enjoyed, definitely, but it's short. What I'm saying is it's like a pamphlet. It's too short. It's not worth the money because it's too short. You know, I got it as a gift, thank goodness, because when I received it, I was like, really? Like, okay, you can like easily read it in like a couple hours. Oh, thanks, bro. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah. Help you get through adversity. There is some woo-woo stuff in there, but not like horrifically woo-woo. Should I raise or not? I think I'm just gonna call it. Do 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 do. He gon' check. All right, we gotta bet it. OTB red bacon. Tons of solid degenerate poker stories. Yes, I like Dan's book for this poker stories and for all this stuff. Like, it was just so crazy, like, just seeing into this world, especially because I'm a real square. Like, I've never done illegal drugs in my life. Like, all that world is, like, crazy and weird to me. How would you define woo-woo? Spiritual. I'm going to say spiritual, like the meditation, mindfulness, stuff like that. Go for it, chaos. Yeah, that's woo-woo for me. Because there's a lot of people who don't like the woo-woo, and I understand. Not all my books are for everyone. Most of them are for woo-woo people who like spiritual stuff, people who like to light some candles and incense to get good luck for the day or whatever. Those are the people who should read most of my books. But if you're just like, yeah, the least woo-woo books are clearing clutter and getting through it. But yeah, I did like the degenerate stories, and it was just crazy because, yeah, it was fun getting a glimpse into that world because it's so different from my world, and kind of weird and scary, to be honest. I'm glad I never got into any of those drugs. Cocaine especially seems like really scary. I'm not sure. He made it sound really unpleasant, and he even said that he didn't really like it, but he did it anyway, which I'm like, I don't know how that works, but but yeah, it sounded awful. And then his friend that he's constantly playing heads up with for like millions and millions of dollars was just like constantly covered with cocaine. Like, he'd have cocaine on his face. Like, he'd pull out his wallet and like clouds of cocaine would come out. I'm just like, oh my goodness. What a world. What a world. I did like that he sometimes would just play poker on like his jet when going places. That sounds really fun. If I was super rich, I would want to play poker on my jet. It does sound good. Oh, and of course he would bang chicks on his jet. That too. Lots of that. Lots and lots of that. Because it's important for the toughness. You gotta be tough and do that all the time for toughness so that people know you're tough. He actually talked about problems he developed from that. Like, not only psychological ones. He acknowledged that it's kind of a psychological problem to be just kind of like going on this revolving Ferris wheel of girls. He talked about how it was very time consuming and kind of like occupying all of his thoughts, and it made it hard for him to just like go have a weekend with the guys or anything. And but he also like he got this thing called prostatitis, I guess, from like banging too much. So that's kind of weird. But I guess it would happen. Oh. Bum ticker. I have never been in an environment where I would be offered cocaine, thank goodness. Maybe I haven't been in casinos long enough. But no, I've never been offered cocaine. It's crazy. I never even used cannabis before it was legal, you know. I was very, very proper with it. Although people would always try and like push it on me when they found out I hadn't had it, which I thought was kind of funny because when you're a kid, you go through these like say no to drugs programs, and they make it seem like everybody's going to be like pushing drugs on you all the time, which of course in school they're not, because drugs are expensive. They're not going to give you free drugs. But then I found out later in life when people found out I hadn't tried cannabis yet, they were just like, oh my God, here, have some raw. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly like the DARE program. Like, exactly. Should I be scared of this ace? I don't know, man. Nobody done raised nothing. Do, 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 do. And it wasn't even druggies who would be pushing it, like in like they said in school. It was always like just random people who worked at Microsoft being like, "You've never done weed here, do it now." And I was like, "Nah, no, I don't want to do illegal drugs. Thanks though." Peer pressure, peer pressure. Yeah, no, only legal stuff for me, please. No drugs. Yeah. DARE program. Fun fact, I actually failed the DARE program because when I was in elementary school and they were doing the DARE program, I was in this like pull-out class for like gifted kids. So like every Wednesday they would like bus me over to this school for a bunch of nerds and we would do like logic puzzles and look under microscopes all day. And that was when DARE went on. And so at the end of the year, when they had their big assembly and they gave out like little graduation certificates for everybody, I was the only person who didn't graduate. And all the kids were like, oh my God, what is she into? What is she into that she failed to graduate DARE? Everybody thought I was like super, super drug addict in my elementary school. It was great. It was great. I wasn't popular, so it just kind of like lent itself to the mystique of like that crazy kid who like will run at you and beat you up if you try to look at her sideways, and she must be on crazy drugs because she failed DARE. Oh, memories. Elementary school was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. My daughter's living a middle school nightmare now. And I was just like, you know what? Junior high was not bad. I was finally out of elementary school, which was good. So I didn't have to, I kind of kept up a little bit of the tough persona thing, but it wasn't nearly as bad as in elementary school. I know, it already added to my tough persona. They were just like, what is she on? That explains why she will fight anyone. She will fight anyone because she's on crack. It's totally true. So when I went to junior high, I calmed down a little bit. I still did fight some kids, but not nearly as much. It wasn't like in elementary school, it was like literally every day. I was in the principal's office just constantly. They did this thing where like if you spat on a kid, they would make you go in the office and spit into a Dixie cup until it was full and then drink it as like a punishment so that you would stop spitting. But I just got to be like a pro at it. I would spit at a kid in the face and then I'd walk over to the principal's office and just like take my shot of saliva while I look in the principal in the eyes. Because remember, I had that tough kid thing going on, so I was just like, whatevs. It's so funny. All right, thanks, Rob. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Have an awesome, awesome time at work today. Get that dollar. Love it. All right, I'm going to be streaming for another, like, 11 minutes or so, and then I'll wind up so that I can do some grinding for tabling, which is always a bummer to watch. Oh my gosh. All right, thanks, Rob. Really awesome to hang out. Hope I see you next week. See you on Monday. Chillax time. Ah, yes, my tough kid days. I have so many stories from my tough kid days. I was like little tiny kid Dan Bilzerian, just really into proving how tough I was on the playground, you know. My kids, my son just bragged to me yesterday. He was like, I taught my friend how to sharpen sticks at school. And I was like, oh, and my ears perked way up, because when I was in elementary school, tough kid me decided to sharpen a bunch of sticks and then go and get like deadly nightshade berries and just a bunch of gross stuff like caterpillar guts, smash it all together, put it on the tip of the stick so that like it was like a poison stick, and then like run after kids and try and like poison dart them with my pointy stick. Which is pretty sociopathic now when I look back at it. And I was just like, oh, please don't go down my way. So I immediately emailed the principal and I was like, the kids are sharpening sticks, just heads up, you're gonna want to nip this one in the bud, because it can get real. And this was like back in the day where, like, I'm not going to say violence was condoned in schools, but it definitely was tolerated a lot more than it is now. I think if that happened to my kids, they would get like expelled. Whereas for me, they were just like, ugh, go to the office. And then they put me into this like special class with the counselor for bad kids that they called leadership class. Everybody knew it was for bad kids, even though it was called leadership class. Because it wasn't leaders. I was in there with a bunch of the other like loser kids who were causing trouble all the time. Nobody thought it was teaching leadership. Everybody thought it was just trying to keep those kids out of trouble. And my counselor's name was Miss Tinkham. This person was just like, betting, phone nothing. Very fishy, my friend. Very fishy. So yeah, ask me anything if you're out there and you're wondering about Dan Bilzerian's book. I read the whole entire thing this month. It was a lot of words, my friends. He did some good writing. I hope that he continues to write. Probably won't, because obviously writing isn't a tough guy thing, and he already climbed that mountain and proved that he could write a book, which again is kind of a toughness thing. People do brag they write books, but I have over 26 published books. You know, it's not a big deal. It's not actually tough. Everyone out there, if you're listening to my voice, write a book. Write a book. It's not that hard. I swear. Don't buy into the mystique that it's like super hard to write a book and get it published, because it's not. It is not. It's just like anything else that you have to work on for more than one day, you know? You just set a goal. You work a little bit every day you can until you reach the goal. That's all it is. It's like running a marathon. Running 26.2 miles or whatever means you start with running 1 mile. Writing 50,000 words for a book means you start by writing like 1,000 words, which is an essay. Or you could write a paragraph, which is like 300 words. And you could do that every day, and pretty soon, eventually, you're going to have a book. So do it. Write a book. Write about what you know. Find your voice. And get it published. Don't self-publish unless there's like a good reason to. Dan self-published. And I think that there's definitely a downside to that. Dude. Yeah, we gonna go for it, dude. We gonna go for it. We gonna go for it, dude. We're gonna go for it. Let's attack this guy. Do you have the jack? No, sir. No, sir, he does not. Shoot, shoot, ba-doot, ba-doot, doot, 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 doot. And then after I finish up the stream, I will be foretabling. Here's my goal sheet, by the way. Here's my thermometer of how many hands I'm doing. I have over 16,000 hands. It's been almost 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks next Tuesday. So yeah, trying to get to 50,000 hands. I'm hoping to get to 20,000 hands before the end of the month. It should be pretty easy. And then 50,000 hands maybe by the end of the year, which should be a bit of a challenge. So I'm into it. See, it's just like writing a book. In fact, it's a very similar time commitment, playing 50,000 hands versus writing 50,000 words. You know, you just one after the other, keep doing it until you hit your goal. That's all there is. Write a book, do the thing. Sometimes it takes more than one day to get to a goal. That's okay. I know it's hard for us perfectionists who want to get it all done now. Now. Ooh, it's a check. Let's see if this guy, they just going to check. Got the ace high versus the tens. The tens are going to win. Shoop, do. I'm like wondering if this is in my range. This might be a little loose of an open. Might be, but that's okay. We got some blinds stole. Got stolen those blinds, just stealing them up. There, those blinds that don't rightfully belong to me. They're mine now. Shoop that do. Well, it was so fun that Rob came in and he hated Dan Bilzerian because then he could talk trash about him. It'd be I actually bought the book, by the way. It's not like I stole a PDF or anything. So, and I posted a review on Goodreads. If anybody you are there, that's like basically Facebook for book nerds. And you can post the books that you're reading and then update people on your progress through the books. And then it'll also like recommend to you books. But the book recommendation feature is not as good as it should be. Typically, they just recommend to me books I've already read, which is really obnoxious because they know what books I've already read. I don't want to buy a book that I already have. Goodreads, please stop. Sometimes they'll even recommend a giveaway for a book I've already read. It's like, no, man, give me a new book. I need new books. I don't know what book I'm going to be reading next month, but I'm going to decide in the next few days. So if you type !book in the chat on the 1st of December, you will see the book that I'm reading for December if you want to follow along. It's going to be a poker book, more of a poker book than Dan Bilzerian's book. I swear I have a whole box full of poker books to read that I've gotten like at the thrift store. So I'm not gonna say they're good poker books, but I'm into it. We're going to read them and we're going to review them. And some of them turn out to be good. Some of them not so much. If you're wondering how many stars I gave Dan Bilzerian's book to, I gave it 3 stars, but that's not as harsh as it sounds because on Goodreads, 3 stars is I liked it, and 4 stars is I really liked it, and then 5 stars is like I loved it, you know? So I liked it okay. It was alright. It gets 3 stars. Solid 3. Okay, we're gonna raise this. Let's do it. Machado. And then we'll sit at next biggie blind to wind up the stream and do the things. Get more tables out. Okay, we're gonna do Brad Wilson's chain betting technique. Chain betting technique might be a little dicey with the 8 there next to the jack. Pow 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 pow. Mikado wondering about that overbet, not into it. Works like a charm. Thanks, Brad Wilson, for your amazing techniques. They're fabulous. Make sure to check out his coaching. He's actually switching to a different model. So this is like the last month or so that you're going to be able to get coaching from Cash Game Pro Brad Wilson. So jump in there if you're interested, because I understand he's going to be shutting down his main coaching program to start up his Coaching for Profits program, which I am trying to apply to, which is why I'm playing so many hands, and I have my hand goal thermometer. I'm getting there. It's a slow progress, but it is progress, my friends. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really awesome. I'm glad I could talk about Dan Bilzerian's book. If you want to read it, then go ahead and buy it on his website. That's like the cheapest place to get it, I think. And you'll get a Kindle version or a PDF. I think you get to choose. So go ahead and read it if you're interested. It was really fun. And I'll see you folks on Monday for Meditation and Mindfulness Monday. I might even share you guys a lucky mudra, because I do have another book coming out called, what's it called? Everyday Mudras, something like that. I'm really bad at self-promotion. All right, anyway, until then, why don't we go ahead and send you guys to somebody who's doing Dare to Stream, because Dare to Stream is a program that's going on right now where people are trying to become a PokerStars ambassador by streaming. And I want to support those people who are living the dream, trying to become the next PokerStars ambassador, but they just don't have enough viewers. So why don't I get to someone who has very few viewers. Ooh, here's I'm Canadian. Let's send him to a Canadian. Raid, I'm Canadian. And then here's the raid call. And until next time, take it easy, my lemon squeezies.